Hello, everybody. This is Kyle, and I am here to give a bit of a late review, about a couple months late, but 20-year anniversary review of Stephen Sommers' The Mummy. And I know it came out May 7th, 1999, and my YouTube channel wasn't up that during that time, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to watch it tonight and also review it. Um, I saw The Mummy when I was very, very young, probably about 4 years old. And when I saw it, the only thing I really remembered was like this really like attractive princess in the movie, um, and a bunch of Beatles. The Beatles scarred me for life. I will say that probably one of the reasons why I hadn't rewatched that movie since was because I was afraid to death of those Beatles. Um, I really, really was pleasantly surprised by watching it um, tonight, because given that I only seen it really once before, and the other movies, The Mummy Returns, Mummy 3, Scorpion King, I saw some of them, parts, bits and pieces of them, but I've never seen all of them together. But The Mummy, the original Mummy, or well, this isn't really an original, but the first Mummy directed by Stephen Sommers is where it all starts, and I have to say that watching it tonight, I think it still stands and holds up to um, what you would call the special effects that we see today. I mean, sure, it's 1999 CGI and stuff, and a lot of it also is Industrial Light and Magic CGI. So a lot of it's very kind of um like the a lot of the characters and a lot of the monsters, they're jumping around. They don't seem too stable on the ground, if that makes any sense. They're very fluidity, like they're moving around all the time, and they're really jumping around, and sometimes they don't look real, but they are mummies, and I don't know how real you're supposed to make mummies appear. One of the best parts about this movie is the way that they make the decaying of the mummies appear, because you have the main mummy, Imhotep, who is very, very old. I mean, he's 3,000 years old, and at first you see how decayed his body is, how rotted it is, and as Rachel Weisz's character Evie points it out, that it's still decomposing. And then as he comes back to life, every person he kills, he assimilates their organs and life forms, and he regenerates. And then what happens is he becomes more and more like a human specimen. I don't need to really go over what happens in this movie, because it's a 20-year-old film, and I guarantee everybody watching this has probably seen this, if anyone's watching this at all. But I really, really enjoyed the special effects. I thought that the action in this was just incredible. It's kind of a shame that I can watch a movie from 1999 and I can have more fun watching some of the action in that movie than, say, the films I see today. I mean, Hobbs and Shaw, for instance, I just watched recently, and Hobbs and Shaw had a lot of action sequences that got quite repetitive, and they kind of lost me. This movie, almost every action sequence is just straight up edge of your seat suspense, and they're all different too, because like the real first core action sequence you see is the one where Brendan Fraser's character, Rick O'Connell, is in the desert with all the other um, soldiers, and then all of a sudden you see this Lawrence of Arabia-esque battle commence, and it's really the starting point of the action we are about to see when it starts. And then what happens is, as the action progresses, you have chase sequences and some very interesting almost like horror-esque, almost like Universal Studios horror-esque films from back in the old Universal Monster days, where a monster's coming after a character and the character doesn't know where that monster is, and then when the monster finally comes, it still maintains that sense of suspense. Like, there's a scene in the film when one of the characters is staring out a window and they know the monster's coming in. Now, could it be more creative? Yeah, but I think it's really cool the way that Summers shot that one scene, where once Imhotep, the mummy, jumps into the room, as this character is somewhat guarding Evelyn in the back of in her bedroom, you do not see the character die on screen, but you see him die through the lens of the shadow of the character. So that's something I found to be very creative. Um, I thought all the characters watching this are all very, very fun and very interesting characters to watch. I mean, you get your cheesy a lot of them, most of this film is a cheesy, corny action adventure. But like, there's nothing bad about that. The only thing bad about that is when you have movies that are made today, for instance, Hobbs and Shaw, that end up being kind of boring. Like, you don't feel like these characters start to um, progress, as I should say. I should stop ranting about Hobbs and Shaw, even though I did enjoy Hobbs and Shaw. But some of the things, as I'm watching The Mummy now, 20 years later, I'm appreciating that movie more for some reason, and that's probably because this movie is more so just a fun action romp. And Stephen Summers, I think, gets a bit of a bad rap in Hollywood. He stopped directing movies for some reason. I mean, he has one slated, on IMDb, but the thing that's a shame is that all of his films that have come out have just been slammed and destroyed by critics. And I think that Stephen Summers is one of my favorite directors. Um, I guess you could say one of my favorite action directors. Definitely one of the major parts of my childhood, because I had the two big action movies were Van Helsing and G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra for me. Those two were great action films. I bought all the figures, I bought all of the merchandise. Well, not all of it, but a lot of the merchandise. And I really loved those movies. And The Mummy is one that I did see when I was like 4, but as I said, I only remember two things of it. And The Mummy itself, though, I think The Mummy, it may be his best film. It's certainly not my favorite film. My favorite Stephen Summers film is G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra. But in terms of story, acting, directing, I think that um, The Mummy is probably Stephen Summers' best film. I would probably say that it is also Brendan Fraser's best film. I wouldn't call myself the biggest fan of Brendan Fraser. I don't find him to be the best actor in the Hollywood, but he's certainly fun to watch. And watching The Mummy, I can clearly connect with his character. He's charming, he's adventurous, he is basically the character of Indiana Jones. Not as great of an actor as Harrison Ford by any means, but he is still enjoyable to watch. I think Brendan Fraser does a great job in this movie. Another performance I think is pretty good is Rachel Weisz's performance. She's one of the best actresses in Hollywood, and she gives a great performance in this. I love how sometimes she's very shy, yet sometimes she's very outspoken, and I mean, you can probably look at her character nowadays and say she's not the strongest female character in Hollywood, but she is not the worst female character, I would say. But I enjoyed their relationship. Rick O'Connell and Evelyn's relationship was fun to watch. It reminded me of Indiana Jones and Mary, and also kind of Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner in Romancing the Stone. So it's a very similar type of relationship that you see in these types of adventure films. I loved the music. The score by Jerry Goldsmith was just fabulous. I mean, I really got a sense of it as like an Egyptian type mummy movie. Compared to, say, Tom Cruise's Mummy from 2017, this film is a masterpiece. I hate the 2017 Mummy with Tom Cruise. I think everything is wrong with that movie in the worst possible ways. And this film is a perfect example of a mummy film that stands on its own and also is an adventure film along with paying tribute, and it's honoring the original Mummy with Boris Karloff. I just don't find the Tom Cruise Mummy to be any of those things. So, watching this film, it's so refreshing to, well, this movie's been around for a while, but to watch a mummy movie that isn't starring Jake Johnson playing a bumbling, dead, ridiculous character. Um, but I, I would, I don't know if I would give ratings for these movies that I would be reviewing now, because I'm starting to come up with this channel now, and I'm trying to think of what to put. I'm trying to put up a video every day here, so I want to give my viewers, one or two of you, if it's one, then that's lucky. I want to give my viewers something to watch every day, whether it be a film review, whether it be a soundtrack review, action figure review. I'll try think of maybe video game reviews. I can probably do reactions, but it'll probably be pretty bad because I don't have the quality. My reaction will be great, but not the quality of me watching the video. But um, what I'm thinking of doing now, and this is gonna be um, one of the things I'm gonna do is, since it's 1999 and the 20th anniversary of 1999, I was born in 1999, so I'm watching all the films from 1999 and reflecting upon them. And The Mummy is one that I'm watching now. I just watched, and I would say that it is a worthy addition to the year of 1999. A much better year for film than I believe 2019 is. But I will say that given that this movie is 20 years old with nostalgia, in check, people back in 1999 may not have felt the same way about this movie as, say, I watch it now and I feel I feel about it. So, with that being said, I guess I will review the. I will give this a rating. So I would give The Mummy about a 8 out of 10, a 3 out of 4 stars, and a B plus in terms of ratings. I thought the story was very interesting. It gave me a kind of Prometheus slash Alien type feel with different characters in one enclosed location and a very, very dangerous entity within that enclosed location that causes the death of all the characters except for a couple around them. I was very intrigued by the beginning of the film with the whole tale of Imhotep and the princess. I think she's a princess, I'm not too sure. I thought that was interesting, and I caught a couple of parallels between that and the relationship of Rick O'Connell and Evelyn near the end when he has to let her go with the mummy, and he's like, "I'll stay with you," and then she's like, "No, you have to leave," just like what happened with Imhotep. Um, John Hannah was great in the film. I like the guy that was kind of the protector of the Egyptian lands that was helping them in the caves, and you thought he died at the end, but really he was on a horse and rode away. He dressed in black all the time. He was a cool character. Arnold Vosloo, who plays Imhotep in The Mummy, he was outstanding. I saw him in G.I. Joe, and I've been a fan of his ever since. And yeah, so that's what I thought about The Mummy. I hope you enjoyed this review of a 20-year-old movie about 2 months, 3 months too late for a 20th anniversary, but I I want to get it out there because I don't know if there's too many people too appreciative of The Mummy 1999. There probably is a huge fan base around here, but I hope that if a movie like, say, um, The Matrix, I guess, I'm trying to think of a 1999 movie that actually is still beloved by people. If The Matrix has a fan base, then I can hope that The Mummy does too. So, now I'm gonna finally end this review, and I wish everyone the best. And until next time, put a smile on your face.